Welcome to self-discoverywisdom.com, formerly known as Self-Discovery Media. On these podcasts, you're going to hear people who speak from the heart. They've taken the journey in life. Many things have happened to them, but they've changed it to happening for them. And in their strength, their courage, they've discovered their abilities and their wisdom, and they are now sharing it here with you. Do enjoy each show. We bring it to you with love and knowing that it's going to help you on your journey of life. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Choose Positive Living right here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my wonderful guest is Italia Tombeni. And she has written a couple of books that we're going to be talking about today. One is The Easy Investing, A Beginner's Guide to Financial Growth, and we'll find out why she wrote that. But the latest one, soon to be out any moment now, is Suits to Silhouettes, An Unconventional Journey of Triumph and Empowerment. Well, that's something we really like to hear, isn't it? Especially here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. We like to hear about that empowerment, that self-discovery to who we really are, what we're really here to do. She says perhaps the thriving, widely productive, inspirational life of Italia now leads after years of setbacks, struggles, disillusionment, and foretold by her prophetic Italian surname, which translates to good outcome or to return to well. Yet the incredible, seriously surreal journey from increasing despair to powerful breakthroughs and enduring hope, she chronicles her cleverly titled autobiography, Suits to Silhouettes, and has a trajectory. Sorry?
Suits to stilettos. Stilettos, the shoes.
Stilettos, sorry, Suits to Stilettos. Yep.
Yes.
Thank you for correcting me. And has a trajectory like her Anna. As typical single mom, sacrificing to build a stable family, a life for her child might turn first to sex worker survive, then to educate themselves and leave that lifestyle and make a so-called respectable career on the straight and narrow. While working full-time, Natalia committed years of her life to getting the education part down, ultimately earning 3 degrees, including Associate Business Administration Management, Bachelor's in Legal Studies, Master's in Criminal Justice. And yet, with all the long-time government employee ultimately finding her personal redemption as an exotic dancer, porn star, and high-level escort, in addition to her ongoing success as a serial entrepreneur, Natalia's story is the life-affirming opposite of how female overcome empowerment narratives usually go. There is no usual, is there? I mean, life is, oh, we've got a beautiful Buddy cat there. They
I don't
always
know
want to get
what
in the picture.
I don't know what it is. Whenever I have my laptop open, she has to come and walk right on it or sit on it. It is the
Yes, of
strangest
course. Of
thing.
course. This is, I know your attention is going to be on the computer and I'm going to go and sit right in front of it. Yeah. That is a cat. And life would be so much simpler if we were a cat, but we're not, right? We're not. And, as long as we'd love to find somebody's lap to pamper us and spoil us all the time, but that is not what a human journey is all about. And, many of us kind of take roads out of circumstances or despair or any other thing that afterwards we kind of wish, like, I just wish I hadn't taken that road. But instead of going, I wish I didn't, it's look up at what did I gain from it? What did I learn from it? How is it empowering me to walk forward? So you've clearly had that path, my dear. Lots of mountains to climb and probably a
Yeah.
few to fall down on.
Yeah. There was times in my life when I regretted decisions that I made. And then here I am at 37 years old with no regrets. And like I have no regrets because I had a great journey and I don't regret anything that happened along the way or any decision that I made because I wouldn't be where I'm at today. I wouldn't have been able to write that book.
Yes.
I wouldn't be where I am today. And I'm grateful, very grateful for every struggle I went through.
37 young. I mean, I'm 69, still learning, still redirecting. And that's what life is all about. I look back on my life. I've just done my memoir as well. And I look back on my life and I go, God, what made me make that decision? Why did I go down that road? And the thing is, we can't kind of sit in those moments. We do need to reflect. We do need to look at where were we at that time that made us make those decisions.
Right.
But at the same time, we can't stay there and beat ourselves up. We have to just give ourselves a hug and go, you did what you did at the time based on what you knew, right?
Correct.
What do we learn from it? How do we move
and
forward?
move on. Yeah.
How did you find that difficult at all?
I did until I got older. I really
Mm,
did. I would beat myself up over a lot of things, and then everything ended up turning out exactly how I wanted it, or even better. And I
mm.
realized, you just got to trust the process and enjoy the journey, enjoy the ride, and learn lessons along the way, and take every decision that you've made and every obstacle in life and take the good out of that. So, what did you learn from that, and how can it help you grow? And I just kept evolving and evolving based off of that.
But that again comes down to the title of the show, Choose Positive Living. That's a choice. You made that choice. So many people that go
Yes.
down, you know, the one road you went down, and it's a downward spiral they never come out of. You
Yes.
made a choice that, okay, this isn't for me. Um, did they come to you in forms of epiphany? Was it a realization? How did they knock on your door?
Great question. In the very beginning, I had my son. My son was the driving force for everything. I couldn't give up. I didn't have an opportunity to give up. I didn't come from a rich family,
Mhm.
and they kind of disowned me because I was the first one in my family to have a child so young and get pregnant. And I think I was the one at the time with the brightest future. I had straight A's. I was on a trajectory of, I graduated at 16, and this was before I got pregnant. So, you know, I ended up graduating and getting pregnant all at the same time, but it was kind of like, okay, now she's going to be a nothing, and I
Mm,
was on the welfare system, and I think my family just kind of gave up on me. And, my son's father was extremely abusive, and I kept going back to him and kept going back to him. And so my family was like, we give up.
yeah.
And but I couldn't give up. I couldn't give up on myself because of my son. And um, I also never chose drugs or alcohol. And I
Mm,
think that had a big factor in it, because I always try to keep my head straight and be an example for my son, no matter what kind of rut we were in financially. Um, but after that, I became very spiritual about, I would say, 4 years ago. I died, literally died.
mm,
And I went down this spiritual path of manifesting and meditating and prayer. And it really, really helped me. And it helped me let go of things that weren't meant to be, instead
yeah.
of fighting it and
Mm.
trying to make things work that weren't supposed to be. And that really helped me a lot. I wish I would have known what I know now
Oh, of
years
course.
ago.
Yes. We
My
all
life
do,
would have been
darling.
fast paced and healthy. But it took me a while to be on this spiritual journey, and I love it. And then, you end up meeting people that are also on the spiritual awakening, and you surround yourself by these people, and just life just gets beautiful. And now most of the decisions I make is, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Of course, I try for everything, and if it's not meant to be, then it's not. It is what it is.
And
And
it'll
that's
be when
really
it's meant to be.
that too. Yes, yes.
Yes.
And it might be 6 months from now, I'm like, wow, it circles back around and it comes to me like this, just handed to me.
Yeah.
So I've learned to let go of things and just rely on the universe and the timing of everything. And yeah, live life a little bit less stressful.
Well, the universe gives us what I call a nudge, nudge, wink, wink. And then if we're
Yeah.
not listening, it gives us a cosmic 2x4, right?
Yes,
So,
yes, you're absolutely
right. So, it is like, are you paying attention now?
yes,
Right. And some people need a few cosmic 2x4s before they awaken. And some people go, okay, I get it.
yes,
I've switched channels. I'm open and ready to receive.
yes,
And that beautiful divine wisdom, whether you call it God, universe, spirit, source,
whatever.
energy,
Yeah,
whatever you want to call it, it is a beautiful essence that is bigger than us. That when we tap into that wisdom, that's the reason why we call self-discovery wisdom, into that wisdom, allow that wisdom to come through to us and resonate in our heart in truth. It gives that truth to our action, our spirituality, for us then to go to our mind to extract what we need to know when we need to know it. And we're then
yes.
in knowingness. And that's such a peaceful place to be, isn't it?
Isn't
In
it? Yes.
knowingness.
Yes. And it's hard to explain that to people or try to tell them, trust the process. It's very hard. I've tried to bring people in on this journey because, like I said, if I would have known what I know now years ago, life would have been so much easier for me.
Hmm.
But if they don't get it, they just don't get it. They look at you like you're a wackadoodle, and it's just kind
Hmm.
of like, I promise you it works. Meditate, manifest. But yeah,
I mean,
it's a
but
great journey to be.
this is your journey now to be that inspiration that begets that invitation. So, people look at
Yeah.
the choices you've made, a life that you've gone down, and some people might, ooh, put their
Yes.
nose up at it, which I'm sure you've had
I get it
plenty
all
of
the time.
judgment.
All the
And
time.
how could you be a spiritual person? It's like, someone going to jail and finding God. No, it's we find that God source
Yes.
anywhere, everywhere,
Yes.
at any time when
Yes.
we're ready to receive, right? And it's
Yes.
like uh, maybe you were meant to take all those journeys for you to be that inspiration of how one can redirect one's life, how we
Yes.
can, all the degrees that you have, the two books, one book that is out, one that is coming out, and the trajectory that you're on now, it means so much more to you because of where you have been. And it makes you
Absolutely.
more relatable to people that have also made choices they wish they hadn't made and they had to make in desperation or whatever
Absolutely.
knowledge they had at the time. And that also for people that are in that right now, you don't have to stay there. You
Yes.
can come out of it, right?
Yes.
So
Yes. I have
everything's
had
for a reason.
everything. I have had so many careers, and I tell my son that all the time because he's so hyper focused on, oh, I want to do this or I want to do that. And I'm like, you don't have to just have one career your whole life. I said, look at me, look at all the
Mm.
careers I've had. You have one life to live, do whatever you want with it. you know,
Explore. That's what
yes,
self-discovery is about, right?
yes,
Yes.
yes.
And then somewhere along the line, you find that, a particular one, for me, 57 podcasting, and I've been doing it almost 12 years. This was like an accumulation of all my life experiences and everything that I had done
It led you
suddenly kind of
there.
being put into but I didn't even know what a podcast was when somebody asked me to join a network, right? What's that? Online radio? I don't know, and it's like, oh, well, who knows? Let's just give it a try.
And
Right.
you love it. Look at
I
you're
mean,
killing it.
totally committed to it, totally,
Yes.
into the podcast books and everything else that we're going on now. Because when you hear other people's stories of what they've had to face, what they've had to go through, the courage, the strength, the abilities they discover, the sheer resilience to go through the process and become who they are today is
Yeah.
exemplary, is illuminating. How can one not get hooked on this?
Yes, I agree. I agree.
So, okay, you stayed with the father because we do, because we think, the child should have a father, and and it's like, oh, it's not that bad, because we make excuses all the time, and and then for me it was my teenage kids saying, "Time for divorce, mum. This has gone too far." So what was your breaking point there, where no, no more?
When I was about 4 months pregnant, I was 16 when I got pregnant, 17 when I had Dominic. So when I was about 4 months pregnant is when the abuse, I guess you would say, started. Um, I think I think something clicked in his mind where he was like, I'm not ready to be a father yet.
Yeah.
And as a mom, once we get pregnant, this motherly instinct kicks in and we grow
Yes.
up all of a sudden. I mean,
Mm.
within a matter of a day, it's like, I'm not living for myself anymore. It's for my child, and he just was not ready. He would disappear at all hours of the night, turn off his cell phone for days. His mother would ask me, where's, I don't want to say his name, but where's he at? I'm like, I don't know, because we were living at his mom's house. And then we got kicked out because the abuse was so bad, and his mother kept kicking him out, and I would let him back in through the window. I loved him.
Mm.
I loved him, and I thought I did, and as my childhood sweetheart. And then when we got kicked out, we moved down to Los Angeles, and to his grandmother's house. We were sleeping in separate rooms, and he was seeing a girl already at his job, and trying to hide it from me, but I knew something was up. And once I had Dominic, I was on the phone one day with my girlfriend who went off to Iraq. And when she called me, this is when we still had house phones. Okay. So
Mm.
when she called me, I guess he was on the other line, and she knew about the abuse because, we went to high school together, and she said, how's everything going with this guy? And I had told her the truth. And I said, it hasn't gotten any better. In fact, it's gotten worse. And I was talking to her for about an hour on the phone. I walk inside, and he heard the whole conversation. And because of that, I mean, he grabbed a belt and he whooped me so bad in front of
Wow.
my son. And my son was small enough to where he wasn't walking yet, but he climbed up, he stood up from the bed like with his hands, and he watched the whole thing.
Oh,
And
yes.
he was screaming and screaming, and he was like, "Mommy, no, mommy, no." And I waited till he left to work, and I took off and never went back. And
Good.
I ended up at a shelter, and we were actually on Skid Row, and I didn't know it was Skid Row until I went back years later to volunteer. I had
Mm,
no clue it was Skid Row that we were on, but we went back to that same shelter years later once I had gotten my degree and did some legal work for some of the homeless people. So it
mm,
was very interesting to go back there. But that was my breaking point. That was definitely my breaking point. And he was absent from his life ever since until um, he was 5 years old, and then intermittently back and forth. And even then, it wasn't really like he was full blown in his life. It was more so his mother than anybody. And now he's got 3 kids and he's remarried. And unfortunately, my son is still his last priority.
yeah.
Sad. It's really sad. But my son and I are best friends, and he's my everything, and he really looks up to me, and we've been through a lot together.
Hmm. And it's important for children to know that whatever breakdown in marriage or relationship isn't the child's fault. And that
Yeah,
the rejection from whatever parent isn't because they've done anything, it's because of the insecurity and lack in that parent.
right.
My children have a relationship with their father. I said, your relationship with your father now is your own. It's got nothing to do
Yes.
with me. And they know who he is. I mean, it was never so much physical abuse as more emotional. He was a piranha. And they don't put up with that. And they call him the dim sum dad. And they see him. It's always short spurts. Because
Yeah.
he just can't stay there long enough. But they love him, but they also know his limitations. So they don't expect anything from him, so therefore won't be disappointed.
Yes. And I think that's with my son as well. When he was about 17 or 18, it was like his dad came back into his life and everything was like, oh, my dad, my dad, my dad. And I was just like, I was hurt because I'm like, wow, this man has never paid a penny in child support. We've been
Mm,
homeless multiple times. We've lived in our car. And all of a sudden, dad is God. But now my son is 19 years old. And now he looks at his dad kind of like, like I see
yeah.
him when I see him, but he sees him for who he is now. And
Mm.
and that's sad. I think that's really sad because he could have done better, especially now that he is older and Dominic is an adult, he still could be there for his son much, much more.
But, rather, not have somebody in your life that's shallow and empty and unable to connect with you, then kind of constantly feeling, what do I have to do for them to love me? But to love oneself and go, I don't need that
Well,
love. Yeah.
yes, yeah. And
Yeah.
that's where he's at now. So I'm at peace with that. I'm like, okay, at least he knows that it's not him. It's
Yeah.
not a reflection on him.
So you're in a shelter on Skid Road, which goes, you do the complete circle later on and going into serve, which I love the way the universe does that, right?
Isn't that
Yeah,
crazy?
it's really cool. Yes. But what was now you've got to not only find a home, you've got to find a job. You're young, you can't go back to the parents because it'd be, I told you so. What was the next step from there?
I talk about this in my book. So when I was about 14 to, I want to see, actually 12 to 14, I was an explorer for the police department. I wanted to become a police officer. So all those explorers you work with all the time doing this volunteer stuff, and I got to know everybody. A lot of those people went off and became officers. So here I am on Skid Row, and there was times when you have to line up the shelter, women and children go first, but if there is no room for you, that's where all those tents come into play outside. I don't know if you've seen Skid Row or not, or seen
Hmm.
videos of it. It's
Probably
horrific.
in movies and things, but
It's horrific. But there was times when we were outside sleeping, and there was times when we were inside sleeping. But one day when I was outside, the police station is directly across the street, and um, this officer comes up to us, and he recognized me, and he was like, "What are you doing out here?" And I was like looking at him like, "Oh my gosh!" And I
mm,
told him what had happened, and he took me to the welfare center, and he put me up in a hotel, and he called my mom. who
Mm.
I hadn't spoken to in probably at least 6 months, 7 months. And all of a sudden, the hotel phone rings. And when I answered it, it was my mom. And she said, "Have you had enough?" She was referring to the
Yeah.
father of my of my son. And I told her, I said, "I haven't talked to him in months. I haven't seen him and I don't want to. I'm over it. I just want to go home." So my car, I had a car and I had no brakes on it. When I tell you I had no brakes, like it was squealing everywhere I went, and it was sitting underneath the shelter because I didn't have insurance. I couldn't afford it. And I was applying for jobs left and right, but I didn't have anybody to watch my son. So it was really
Yes.
a catch-22. And now they have programs in place, which I did utilize. Once I moved back with my mom, I moved back with her for about a month. I got a job selling cars, and then I got my own place. And then I utilized the system to, they subsidize some of the daycare expenses and grocery expenses until you're able to do it all yourself. It's like a stepping
Mm.
stone program. And if you use it how it's supposed to be, then it works. And that's what I did to get on my feet. So
And
I
then
sold
what?
cars for about a year.
And studying at the same time, or?
Yes, I went to college right away. I was standing on the point when you sell cars. They call it a point when you stand out there waiting for cars to come in.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy pulls up in this really old truck, and he's wearing overalls with chewing on a straw, like you'd see in a movie,
Straight
right?
out of the Hillybillies, yeah.
Yes, yes. And he told me that he has been there since 1986, which was the year I was born. And he told me that, he knew Roy Rogers, which was a guy that they named the city after. Like, it was just a
Mm.
crazy story. And I looked around at the people that I was selling cars with, and I said, "I am not going to be here in 20 or 30 years. There's no way."
Mm-hmm.
And after the conversation, I turned around, I went inside, and I'm a first generation college graduate, so I had no clue what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
But I turned around, I went inside, I went on the computer, and I signed up for college. And I started, I think, a week later, and I never stopped. I
Mm-hmm.
got 3 degrees. I said, "I'm getting out of here." You look at the people that were selling cars, and they were all smokers, they were all drinkers. And oh, goodness. Are you there?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, it says my battery's dying. I don't know why. They're all smokers and all drinkers, and I was like, I don't want to be here. I definitely don't want to be here in 20 years, and I wanted more for my son and I. And yeah, got out of it. I got my first degree, and then I started working for the government. Government does not pay that much. And
Mm.
it was bad. It was really bad. I mean, I was like almost back to minimum wage again, but then I had the benefits of healthcare. I had the benefits of um, uh, a lot of room for growth, and 401k and a Roth. And so I decided to stick it out. I would borrow gas money sometimes from my boss. And then I got my second degree, my bachelor's degree. And with that, I started my first paralegal business, and that went very, very well. And then I started a second one. So I had two paralegal businesses in two different counties. And I almost quit the government job to do that full time because it was much more lucrative than working for the government. But then everything went online.
Yeah.
Everything that I was doing went online. And so I had to readjust again,
Mm-hmm.
shut down my businesses. And then I got my third degree, and I just kept moving up through the government. And I became an analyst, which was my ultimate goal. And when I became an analyst, I hated it. And I
Mm.
couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that, I was there again. But throughout that time, I moved a lot. And like I said, it wasn't very lucrative. There was times where my son and I would live in the car, and I would go back to dancing. Dancing was something that I did intermittently, pole dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Intermittently, it was very quick money, and it was very good money. And it wasn't something I did full time up until about 10 years ago. That's when I quit. When I quit the government, I was like, this is much more lucrative, and I think I can get ahead in my future. I've got my degrees. I can always go back to the government. That's what I always thought. I can always fall back on my degrees and go back if I needed to. But it ended up being the best decision I ever made.
There
And
is
then
good money in it. It's also a great study of human nature at the same
yes, it
time.
is. It is. It is.
So, I mean, were you still running your business as well at the same time, or you just,
The paralegal business,
yeah.
I had to shut those down because everything. So what I was doing was criminal expungements, and I was charging about $500 to do it. And it was me, and I had one employee. She did the translation, the Spanish translations for me, but everything was great. And then when everything went online, they could do it for $50
Yeah.
online. And I was like, this is crazy, because it was something I really specialized in. I had 100% success rate, and I was really getting my name out there. But it was like, life threw a curveball at me again.
Yeah.
I
Hmm.
had to figure it out again. But no, after that, I knew that I wanted to be in, criminal justice and the law. I had politics. I had a very, very big passion for it. And yeah, I realized that once I had, I guess, infiltrated through the government and the systems in there, I realized that it wasn't what I thought it was.
Hmm.
And I felt like my integrity was compromised, and
Hmm.
I wasn't happy anymore. And I realized that it was kind of a smokescreen. I wasn't happy anymore.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Very
When we
disappointed.
look at the word government, very often there's a big question mark next to it. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
people going with
exactly.
good intentions, but can those good intentions stay? And it's when people talk about, kind of overhauling, not overthrowing, but overhauling the government. I do agree
Yeah,
with that because there's been too much, turn the other cheek, or, pass the hand or pass the buck rather than the justice. And I think, it's time for us, I think, as a human race to, what do we stand for? Where
yes,
where is our integrity? Where is our dignity? Where is our respect?
yep.
Our
I
self-value, value for others? And when we start answering those, and it's like, okay, maybe I need to work on myself. And in doing so, then I'll know how in order to serve other people. But, it's always those outside expectations rather than the inside nudge, nudge, wink, wink that's trying to show you the way. But they're all
Yeah,
there for a reason, though, aren't they, though?
yes. I said an oath, and when I started with the government, and I was very serious about it. I took my job very seriously, and I ended up blowing the whistle 3 times.
Mm,
3 times I blew the whistle, and it boggled my mind, because I walked out of the government saying, "Am I going crazy? Am I
uh-huh.
wrong?" And then here we are years later, and all this stuff is coming to surface now, and
Hmm.
I'm going, I was right, and these people were just going to work to collect a check, and these are the people that are representing us, and it's just
Yes.
mind-boggling. It's absolutely mind-boggling, but there's no way to fix it, because everybody's protected by the union.
Hmm.
So they can do, excuse my language, but they can do a half-assed job, and there's no repercussions for it. You can write somebody up all day long and they'll never get fired. It's just, it is the most insane work environment you could ever imagine. And the fact that these are the people that are supposed to be running our country and our state
Yeah.
and our city is insane. And the corruption is, people they live for greed. They live for money,
Hmm.
instead of
Opulence and
having
power.
integrity.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yes. And it boggles my mind of how people think and what drives them and motivates them. And I said, this is not the place for me. And I had more integrity being an elite companion, and more integrity dancing on a pole, enjoying my life, than sitting behind a desk being fake and doing the bare minimum.
Yeah. And
I
and
got
yeah, it's kind of rather like the bully that puts on the uniform. Either
Yes,
either military or police. I've done many, many
yes,
show on things that they have done, but because they wear the uniform, they've been exempt from it, no
yes,
accountability. And it
yes,
seems to me that people go into politics today for what they can gain, and they forget you're a civil servant serving your people. This isn't about us now serving you or you being self-serving,
yes.
right? And that is, yeah,
There was a quote from Harry Truman, and I mean, not word for word, but I believe it says, "Show me a rich politician, and I'll show you corruption." And
yeah,
I'm telling you, that is 100% true. I never forgot it, because it really stuck with me. There is just no way possible, and uh, uh, the things that I've seen,
yeah.
insane, just insane.
And
Yeah.
and we're seeing it, like I don't think ever there was a great show called the Newsroom back in 2010, and
Okay, I've heard of it.
yeah, highly recommend it. They did 3 seasons of it, and it's kind of the transition from kind of telling the news as it is, educated, proper reporting, respectful accountability news, to sponsors coming in dictating what you can and cannot say. and
Yes.
kind of that transition where it started changing. And it's like the narrative, we can't believe anything we see or anything we hear anymore. It's like we've got to trust our feeling. Does it feel right? Because what we see and what we hear is just mouths moving and empty words, but where's
Yes.
the action? And
Yes.
you're in your country at the present moment with what's the latest thing? Orange Jesus. That which somebody's called him. Um, it's like you look at that and as a even semi-intelligent, rational human being and go, what the heck has gone wrong? And, I think what has gone wrong is that everybody's pointing the finger, going, it's your fault, your fault, your fault. And three fingers that are pointing back at you is saying, where's your accountability? Where's your responsibility? What are you
Right.
going to do about it? No, no, they
Yeah.
don't want to do that because that's too much work for them to work on themselves. Too much work to be in their own self-discovery of their own self-worth and what their contribution is, really. It's easier to point fingers and get rah, 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 and down the hate rhetoric, or, the sensational rhetoric. And because they think that it takes less energy, but they don't realize they're burning fuel at a much higher level than those that choose to live on the plane that we're living on, which is a great deal more peaceful. And because we've chosen accountability and
Yeah.
responsibility.
Yes. Couldn't agree with you more.
So we're there. So obviously now you've gone from government and your pole dancing and etc. And I suppose, there comes like oh, she's fallen low or she's done this, she's done that, right? You've gone backwards. And it's like uh
Not really.
right, exactly. It's you're playing on the what of men. Uh some just want to live out a fantasy, some, really do have issues, but you're getting very, very well paid to kind of do an art, because it is an art, right? A
Yeah.
dancer is an art. This is just a form of it. Um,
Yeah.
but of course, people absolutely love to judge first.
Oh
How did
yeah.
how
All
did
the
that
time.
play out for you amongst family, friends, and just where you wanted to go from there?
Not very well. Could you hold on one moment? Because for some
Yes.
reason my outlet's not working and I don't know why. So
Yep.
I'm
I'm
gonna
going to
go.
pause and let you go and do that. We're back. We're plugged in and ready to get back to business. So,
Okay.
the lovely word judgment and persecution and all of that people love to step into, kind of throw people on the fire pit, burn them at the stake, and all of that type of
Yes,
thing.
I still
I'm
get it.
yeah, of course, I still do too, love. It's just it's what we call the third dimensioners. They have not risen yet. They haven't
Yes,
awoken
evolve.
yet, and so they still live in judgment, blame, hate, and self-loathing.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we can just send a prayer to them, but we can't listen to them. But I know it must be hard, because
It is. It is hard. The at first when I was dancing, I don't think my family judged me too much. They saw the money that I had coming in and what I was doing with it. And that's another thing is a lot of people have a misconception like, okay, I'm getting this money, but I'm out buying purses or shoes or blowing the money. And like I said, I've never done drugs, I don't drink, and all my money, I built businesses.
yeah,
Every single time, right now I'm building businesses. Like it's always a journey for me of like,
mm,
okay, what can I do with this? Because it's not going to last forever.
right,
So with dancing, I mean, it provided my son a beautiful education. He went to the most prestigious private school. He had a tutor for every course. So I
mm,
put a lot into his education. Very, very, very smart kid now. And we lived in a beautiful home, and I started a maid business and a carpet and grout cleaning business. I had 65 employees, so I was able to provide 65 people with food in their mouths and
yes,
a home for them and their children, and that was nice.
yes,
Was nice. But I
yes,
learned to hone into my business skills. I mean, building businesses from the ground up is very hard, but it's a journey of what you learn, what you can do, and what your limitations
Mm-hmm.
are. And you really have no limitations. Whatever you put your mind to, you can do it. But it's very, very hard to do. And I loved it. And I really embraced it. And it was something that I realized I had a major passion for it. I did a lot of investments, which is why I wrote my investment book. I started investing when I was homeless. And people say, like you can't, how do you save money when you're living check to check? And I figured out how to do it.
A lot of people, go from school and they go into, high level education and they go and study for years and then they go and join a firm and they climb the ladder and
Yeah.
then they reach a monicum of success or all that. But, people that have kind of come from the world of hard knocks and redirections,
Yes.
there's a different type of instinct. There's a different type of awareness of what's needed. There's a different approach to people that you do hire because you know what their struggles are. And I think it's a totally different journey to success. And I think it's a success that hasn't followed the mainstream. You fought for it so that everything you've got is something that you can be extremely proud of.
Yes.
And it's something that also you have a broader spectrum of understanding what it is.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. The knowledge I've gained from the numerous jobs that I've done and the numerous adventures I've been
Yes.
through, is you can't get it from a regular education. You can't get it from a brick and mortar school. It's school of the streets,
Yes.
and
Yes.
books.
Yes.
But
Life of hard knocks. Yes. And
the life of hard knocks, yeah.
yeah, but I think
But
that's, that's kind of the best way for me. I mean, been the
I
journey
agree.
that I've had.
I agree.
It's like, I was a very sickly child. I didn't finish school. And so it was like, just
Oh,
hope she makes a good marriage. She's never going to accomplish anything. So at first
oh,
it was, nobody ever thinks I can accomplish anything. And then it was, well, good, nobody expects anything from me. So I've got more freedom and liberty just to explore. And then, I guess, and I've owned restaurants. I've worked in restaurants. I've owned a dress store. I've worked in them.
really?
I've been in the. I was the first mobile DJ or second mobile DJ in South Africa, but the first go-go dancer in South Africa when I was there, and
Oh my God.
and I've done a lot of things, and a lot of it is like, huh, interesting. Why not? Let's just do it. And then other things stepped into
Exactly.
secretarial. No, 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 I'm no good at this. I, ca- I'm dyslexic and I can't spell and grammar, forget it, wrong thing. And it's like, okay. But then I realized there was a common denominator of everything that I had going through it. And that is a soul awakener. That's always been there, but also understanding customer service, what people really needed. It didn't matter what the product was. I was the first woman rep for mobile oil. Did I know about the oil composition? Nada. Nothing. Right? Zip. But I knew what customer service was. I knew that really they knew the oil. They would choose the oil they want, right? But it
Right.
was it was the service they were getting. How reliable was it? How courteous was it? Am I listening to the customer? And I actually got fired from jobs by my bosses because I either went over their head or I proved to them that he wasn't doing their job and then get offered their jobs. No, I don't want their jobs. I just want them to do their job. So
Right. You're,
as you were a kind of that whistler, I was a shaker upper without realizing
yes.
I was. And then, I've shaken you up, you realize what's important, now I'm gone. On to
Yes.
the next thing. But I didn't even know I was doing that. It was only in the hindsight that when writing the
Yes.
memoir and looking at things and going, it doesn't matter all the dozens of things I've done.
Yes.
It is the experiences that I've gathered along the way, again, have
Yes.
set me up for what I'm doing today, but they also what fill you up and round you out and make you who you are.
Yes.
And if you can stand tall in who you are with self-love, with appreciation for the journey that you've taken, and
Yes.
the gratitude of the gift of where you are right now with what you've got,
Yes.
hallelujah, right? Hallelujah.
Yes. We've had a very similar path, you and I. Yes. Absolutely.
I had plenty of judgment along that way. But and I wasn't smart. I mean, I couldn't do degrees or things like that because I'm not I don't retain information like that. I retain different thing. I retain vibration. not
Okay.
necessarily. That vibration becomes the information, not book information. So
Right.
it wasn't for me to be that kind of scholar. I was a soul awakener, and I was here as a soul awakener, and I
You
was
did
always on that
amazing.
spirit journey. But for me, being the spiritual person, was not sexy or popular. And of course, I've been called a witch and have been called many other things through life. And or that she's an oddball, she's different. And but now we're in an era where waking up and
Yes.
stepping into this beautiful arena is
You were way
something.
ahead of your time.
I,
You were
well, I
way
was here.
ahead of your
I was
time.
here to open the door for many people, and that was my
There you
job,
go.
right? And now, when people do wake up, as you said, that cosmic 2x4 is suddenly, hello, hello,
Yeah.
hello, right? You realize actually you've been doing it all along. With every business and every decision you've made, the gut instinct, the soul instinct was there. Your head just didn't know you were listening.
Yes. Yes.
And when you realize,
Wow.
put the wisdom and the knowledge together, woo, powerful combination.
Very, very. Wow. You and I had a very similar path. Very
Well,
similar.
wasn't I have been homeless? Yes, I have been homeless, but that wasn't with a child, because I chose to stay to keep the roof over our head, however rocky that was. But yeah, it's I do know what it's like to be down and out and all of that, but it's again all of that, everything that we've been on. I look back on some things and go, oh God, did I have to learn that lesson? Really? And God, what was I thinking? You know? And but it is like being able to look back on it and realize that that was not healthy for you, that was not good for you. It becomes a well, I never will do that again, because your antennas are up. They're not going to
Yeah.
take you down that path, right?
Yes. Yes.
You're not going to repeat that relationship.
Never. I was telling my sister yesterday actually because her son reminds me of me so much. Just always has to learn his lesson the hard way.
Hmm.
Very hard-headed.
Hmm.
And I told him, I said, I feel like he's living my life all over again. And I said, but don't worry too much about him. Like he'll make it. He'll be fine. He's just
Yes.
learning the hard way. Sometimes some of us have to learn the hard way, but it
But
works.
that's, like your full circle of going back to Skid Row and helping the homeless. The reason why you
That was
can help the
amazing.
homeless isn't your skill, is your compassion, is your
Yeah.
understanding of the situation they're in. Other people can go in with their skill, but
Right.
without the compassion and the understanding, are you
It's
really reaching them? Are you really able to help
right.
them?
Yeah. And I remember telling some of them, like, I've been where you are. And they look at me
Mhm.
like, yeah, right. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, I really have. It was really interesting. So when I started doing the criminal expungements, a lot of people on the streets, there's many reasons why people are homeless.
Yes.
Some of them are out of, they're just down and out like I was.
Yep.
Some of them don't have IDs and they can't get any resources or
Hmm.
benefits. Some of them are running from the law. This is a
Hmm.
true story. I mean, there's many reasons why they're out there. So the ones that had a criminal record that had no ID and their criminal record was from 10 to 20 years ago. In the state of California, you can do a criminal expungement, which really helps you. It helps you with your career, it helps you everywhere. So I went back to Skid Row to do that for those people. And I didn't know it was Skid Row. I just found a volunteer opportunity and I drove down to LA and I was like, oh my gosh, this is where I used to live
Mm.
at. And I
Full
couldn't believe it was
circle.
Skid Row.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. There I was helping people, hopefully to get off the street. Who knows what they did with it, but
I
hopefully
mean,
I
there are
helped at
some
least one
people that,
person.
we have a huge homeless problem here, because I'm sure like in America, but here our accommodation here is short. We don't have enough. And also it is so extremely high that
Yeah, it's really hard here.
even people, working, two family people working, they still can only afford a one bedroom. It is ridiculous. It's got so out of
Inflation's
proportion.
bad.
It is,
Yes.
but it's also greed, and especially
Oh yeah.
through
Oh yeah.
COVID and things, landlords and things, put the prices up. And instead of the government saying, okay, no, you've got to go back to proportional, instead of jacking up and gouging, it's, now they're going a different road. And it's, come on, folks, that doesn't work. That's not working. And it never seems to be that common sense kind of steps in. And I think that, when somebody who's come from the roads that you've been on, and you've worked with the people, you've lived with the people, you know the people that have had the struggles, those that are willing to pick themselves up over and over again, those that don't know how to pick themselves up, those
Yeah.
that don't know, that are just waiting for someone to tell them what to do because they just have no idea. When you have that knowledge, and the knowledge that you have with all your degrees and all the empowerment that you have, you can truly and utterly speak for those people in a way that you are representing who they are and why they are, because you understand. And you can speak in a language on the other side of the things to make people understand. A lot of people think that people that are homeless are, oh, it must be drug addicts and criminals and this and that.
Very
No,
quick to judge.
yeah, no, nobody
I,
grows up and goes, I'm going to be a criminal and live on the street.
yes.
Right. Yeah. 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 And I've interviewed quite a number of people that have ended up in jail or were on the street, kind of one step away from this or that, or, somebody's daughter who got shot but went back to the street until she was murdered. Some
Oh,
people are kind of constantly keep throwing themselves back into the river, and just want to drown. But all those people that either went to jail or had that something happen where they lost everything, they go, thank you. Thank you for that redirect.
yeah.
I was living a lie. I was hating my life and what I was doing. And that losing it all or bottoming out or the wake up, the shake up really kind of put me back on track to really where I'm meant to be and what I'm meant to be
Yes.
doing. And that's such a beautiful gift, isn't it? At any age, at any
Yes.
time.
Yes. I couldn't agree with you more. I think when I went into porn, I just did a very, very small stint in porn. It was like a year and a half, but that was it was different than I had expected.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a very rude awakening for me. And I realized that was not part of my life path. It wasn't part of my journey. And I got out of it right away. But it went back to the greed. I
Mm,
saw a lot of greed, a lot of people chasing fame and
mm,
clout over money. And I'm like, I'm just trying to line my pockets. Like this
yeah,
isn't doing it.
yeah.
And so I got out of that real quick, but it also led me to being an elite companion. I had no clue about this whole world that I'm in now. And it changed my whole life. Changed my whole life.
I,
Absolutely love it.
that again, the people that throw the stones are the people that generally feel the most insecure about themselves, right?
True. True.
So,
Yeah.
and or live in a sense of false righteousness, um,
Or
that
they just don't have an understanding of what
they
it
don't
is,
have
you
an
know?
understanding. That self-righteousness does come from a lack of self-worth or a lack of self-understanding, right? They
True.
have
Yeah.
they haven't kind of discovered who they are yet,
They
or
haven't evolved.
you haven't evolved because they're with the masses. And so if the masses turns against, it's like, we look at celebrities and we put them up on pedestals. But the moment something goes wrong in their life, we pull that pedestal from underneath them. Right.
Horrible.
And
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
ah, are you for real? Right. And it's like
Right.
it takes courage for a celebrity that's at the top of their game to say, I suffer from bipolar or depression, or
Yeah.
I'm a drug addict, or this or that, because everybody has an illusion of who they are. And
Yes.
and suddenly the reality is there. And people don't want to accept reality. They prefer
Nope.
to have the illusion because they're still
The
living
fantasy
in a
of their own mind.
delusional life themselves, right? So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
don't ever be hurt by the stones cast because they're not coming from a place of enlightenment.
I try not to. I think over the last year, I've gotten much tougher skin, grown some
Mm.
tough skin over the last year, and realized that, I mean, even some self reflection on myself, because it's like, I may look at somebody's situation and not feel sorry for them or, judge them for it. But then I think about it and I'm like, that could be me, or that
Yes.
could have been me. And if I didn't have the knowledge I have today, that would be me, So I've learned to not cast judgment on people, and I hope that other people do that as well. It's me, but
Yeah. I mean,
it doesn't hurt me as
we
bad
have
as it
no
used to.
power over what other people's thoughts are,
Right, right.
right? Their opinion is their opinion. All we ask is they keep it to themselves,
Yes.
right?
Keep it to yourself. Exactly.
But, it's there's always going to be somebody that you displease.
Yes.
But when you come from a place of authenticity, this is who I am. I stand tall in who I am, in what I do,
Mm.
and what my accomplishments are. You either see them or you don't see them. That
Yes.
is that is of really no concern to you. It's like when these podcasts go out. Who listens to them, what they do with them is out of my
Yep.
hands, right?
Yes.
So all we can be is just stand tall in who we are and what we
Yeah.
are doing, and let water off a duck's back. Let that
Yep.
fall off the duck's back. But also to understand, I had another wonderful woman who um, it became a prostitute, was living on the street, but kind of the ugly side of it. And that's
Yeah.
because she had these constant voices in her head, and it ended up being a spirit entity that wanted to speak through her. And she was put in a nut house, and this and that was crazy. And finally, that breakthrough came through. And when she recognized, oh, no, I'm meant to be this vessel. I'm meant to be this vessel for this other entity. And now she's on a totally different trajectory, where
Oh
she
wow.
and Othello. But it it was the perceiving that she was mad or crazy or something wrong with her, where
Yeah.
society backed that up, that she didn't listen to the voice and what it
Yeah.
was trying to say to her. She needed that cosmic 2x4. So it's like, pay attention to what's going on the inside, right? Pay
Yeah.
attention.
Yes, absolutely. I just feel like no matter what I'm doing for money, as long as I have integrity and I'm being ethical and I'm not hurting anybody and
Yes,
nobody's hurting me and I'm not hurting myself, I'm happy. You
exactly.
know, and that's all that matters.
You choose positive living because it's your choice. And that means
Yeah.
that you are empowered in that choice. It's not a choice being
Yes,
made for you. It's your
correct.
choice, so the empowerment is in that choice. And at any time it doesn't feel right, you have the choice to leave,
Yes, yes.
right?
I'll never forget the feeling that I had working for the government. And let me tell you, it was the most miserable time of my life. Out of all the times I've been homeless, the times that I couldn't afford groceries, or I'm begging for gas money, or I'm dancing on a pole with blisters on my feet, you know, I will never forget the feeling I had when I worked for the government. And it was the integrity, the ethics, it was gone, and that's not how I want to live my life.
Yeah.
And now I'm finally living it the way I want to, and I'm happy. And so that is what it is. People can judge as much as they want to, but I love what I do and I'm happy.
How does your son feel about it? Because obviously he loves you and you've put all this, everything that you've gained, you've put into his education.
Yes.
Does he get rigged by other people,
Well,
peers, or has he learned to have a thick skin on that?
yes, yes. When he was in high school, he wouldn't let me go to his high school at all. And he said, "You don't look like other moms." And I'm like, okay, fair enough. But then when he found out, I hid the whole porn from him.
Mm,
At first, when I was dancing, I hid that from him until he realized that. I told him, I said, "Dominic, do you realize that, I drive, I don't have to ask for gas money anymore. We're not we're not scrounging for groceries anymore." And I was only doing it every other weekend at the time, but it was
hmm
still lucrative. I was making
Yeah.
5 to 10 grand every other weekend.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Catching up on, I had all my bills paid off. So it was a good life for him.
Mm.
And then he finally came to terms with it, and he was like, okay. He's like, well, can we just not tell anybody that's what you do? And I said, okay. So he went through his high school years, not telling anybody that's what I did. Then when he got to college, that's about when I started porn. I didn't tell him for a long time. And then one of his friends recognized me.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, that was a bad day.
Yeah.
A bad day. So he was very upset about that. And he was like, how embarrassing. And I said, you know what? That's fine. I said, I'll stop. I'll return our cars and we can go back to living in a small apartment, and I'll go back to dancing on a pole. And he was like, no. And I was like, you're living a great life, aren't you? Because I told him, and that's kind of when we had the conversation of, you can do whatever you want in life. Don't hurt anybody. Don't, be ethical, have integrity about what you're doing. Don't steal, lie, or cheat to make your money. And you're not doing anything wrong.
Own
And
it. Own it.
yes, own it.
Mm.
And I think that's how he lives his life now. As long as he's not lying, stealing, or cheating to make a living, and he feels integrity and he feels good with what he's doing, I don't care what he does. I want him to be happy. And that's a good lesson that he learned. And now he just embraces what I do and doesn't really care. He doesn't care because he's very proud of me because of where we come from.
Right,
He remembers the struggles that we went through. He remembers the times that we lived in the car and showered at the gym. Like these are we'll never be there again ever.
right.
And he knows that, and he's very grateful for that. He looks at me like I'm really smart. He reads my investment book. He asks me questions. We talk every day, and he actually listens to me. At his age, I was not listening to my mom at
No,
all.
no.
But I appreciate that he actually believes in me and trusts me, and yeah, he's proud of who I am now.
I have another genre called sensual expressions, which we could easily have put the show under as well. But also, you're a very sensual being, right? And the difference between sensual and sexual. There's some people that just
Oh,
come
I'm
across.
very sensual. Yes.
Right. So some people come in and they're just sexy, sexy, sexy. But the sensual is something that you embody all of your senses and you
Yes.
exude those senses that come out
It's
very,
very
very sensually. And it's a totally different thing. And that sensuality, why shouldn't you own it? Why shouldn't you be it? Why shouldn't you be able to
right.
be your central expression? Right?
Right.
Where if it makes you feel good, it makes other people feel good. Um, that's your ownership. And again, we've got this double standard where men are allowed to be sexy, but if women are sexy, there's a fine line between no, not too sexy or not too, and I
Yes.
know, no, it's about the sensuality,
Yes.
not the sexuality, the sensuality. And that I think is so empowering.
It's very funny that you say that actually, because I am a very sensual person, and I don't think anybody's ever said that to me other than a man that
Mhm.
I've spent time with. So it's very interesting that you actually get that from me, and we're on a podcast. Like that's really cool, very very cool. But yes, I'm very sensual.
But you bring that sensuality to everything that you do. And again, that
Every,
sensuality is being in tune of all of your senses, right?
yes,
And doing everything from that central passion, which doesn't mean sex fornication. It is central living in everything that you do. And that's what A makes you successful, but also makes you connective where people can relate. And it's invitational because so many people are so scared to step into this sensuality because they're scared of how I've had this in my life where living in my sensuality as an exuberance for life and a passion and love for life is perceived as an open invitation for sex. And I get, no, you're getting the wrong message. You're
yeah.
thinking with a different apparatus than I am. I'm live, I'm coming at you with the being of me, and you're thinking of something else. And it's because they're not stepping into that. They translate everything into sex. So when people look at somebody who's sensual living, that's truly living life completely fully, look at them as somebody that is tapped into everything and
Yeah,
brings the everything of who they are and
yeah,
celebrate that, maybe even kind of learn something from it because it's not all about sex.
no, no, it's not at all, not at all. And being an elite companion, I just spent a week with a gentleman, and it's my third time seeing him. We still have never had sex. He's going
Yes.
through a very bad divorce right now, and he was drinking nonstop. And I don't drink, so he really enjoys my company because we'll watch movies. We've been watching Californication that came out, I think, in 2007. I've
Yeah.
never seen it before. We've been watching the whole series like every day. I love it, and I've cooked him breakfast and lunch and dinner. Just really pampered him. Just been that companion for him,
Yes.
and I've just seen a complete turnaround from him. I
Yeah.
mean, from the time that we met, and he was literally drinking nonstop, and I'm like, this guy has a problem. He'd wake up and drink. He'd go to bed drinking. And this last time that I was there, he was like, I'm gonna stop drinking. I was like, okay. It's like, do what you want. I don't judge you, but I'm here for you.
Yeah.
And it was this last trip was just great. It was great, and now he wants to take me to Paris, France, and I've never been, and so I'm
Mm,
excited to go.
yeah.
And I just love what I do. I hope that I can change his life. I hope that he finds a woman one day once he's over this heartache that he's going through the divorce. And he finds a woman one day that makes him happy, because I think that he deserves that. Really good man. Really, really good man.
You are quintessentially that counselor for him. But
Oh,
instead of,
yeah.
the 350 bucks an hour on the couch, tell me about your mother.
Yes.
You're allowing him to offload or just a safe space
Yes.
just to just be and rediscover who he is, rediscover
Yes.
what he wants, because clearly he went down a rabbit hole. He got completely lost, right?
Yes.
He's feeling shattered. Where do
Yes.
I go now? Where did I go wrong? And he needs that safe space for someone to just say, I'm here for you. I'm here for
Yeah.
you. And how many
And
people get that in life, right?
yes, and he's lucky that he can afford it. But yes,
Yes. Yes.
yes, I'm very happy though that I met him, because I didn't realize, when you meet somebody as you're doing this, you don't know what you're walking into. It's also a very dangerous job. You
Yes.
don't know what you're walking into. And when I met him, I was kind of like, okay, he's got some issues here. What's going on? And I usually, my website specifically says no hard drugs and no alcohol.
Mm.
So I was like, what do I do with the situation? Right. And I realized the second time I went and saw him, I'm like, I wonder if he took me out to a nice steak restaurant, and he was like, you don't want a glass of wine or anything? I said, I don't drink. And he's like, I used to not drink. I quit drinking for a long time. And then that's when we went down a rabbit hole of what made you start drinking
Mm.
again. And it was this divorce, and it just
Yes.
really rocked him. And I think people look at men like they're these strong men and nothing affects them.
Yes.
But I mean, I went through a heartbreak, and it hurts. And men go through the same thing. And I think he's very, very hurt about this divorce that he's going through. And she's just dragging him through the ringer. I mean, she is just not being nice to him, and it's tearing him apart. So I'm glad that I can be that little buffer for him. And I'm glad to see him on a path of being sober right now. This last trip was amazing. I've never seen him sober, but it was great. We had a great time. So,
You're honoring him and helping him go through his own self-discovery. Right. So
yes,
as I said, it is a form of, of a support system. So whether you are counseling or whether you're just giving that space or whether you're just showing him, let's peel away the alcohol, let's peel away the anxiety, who's within, it's safe to come out. And,
yes,
as women, we generally go and find other girlfriends or people that we can talk to and we're willing to talk. But with men, there's always this facade that you've got to be tough
yes,
and this and that, and they don't know how to talk with someone else.
yes,
Slowly that's beginning to break down a little bit where men are beginning to talk with other men, but we don't want them to go down the bitter comparison lane. We want them to go down the lane of empowerment, self-empowerment, of
yes,
coming back to self or rediscover yourself or discovering something totally new about self and getting to that place where they can deal with whatever's thrown at them because they're at peace with who they are. But they need sometimes just a safe place, a safe person to be around. Yes, fortunately, they can afford that. Not
yes,
everybody can, obviously. So there's plenty of people that would need your services that couldn't afford it. But it's money well spent because it is an investment in themselves
yes.
through you just being there for them.
So the journey of stripping brought me to a journey of porn. Porn brought me to being elite companion. And I'm sorry, my son keeps calling me. And the elite companion brought me to, I just opened up sorry, my son keeps calling me, it's distracting me. um, life coaching. So I just opened up a life coaching because my sister said that I changed her whole life,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel like this is my calling. My calling is to help people have that spiritual awakening. My calling is to help people find themselves and evolve. And I think life coaching would be great for me. So I just started doing that, and I hope that I can continue on that path. I think what I'm doing as a companion is literally the same thing, but in person.
Yeah.
And it's amazing, and I love it. And if I can just change one person's life, I think it'd be great. So
And especially people that have in any shape or form come from your walk of life, because we want to be drawn to people that have an understanding of choices we've made, of directions we've been in without the judgment. And so, people that have taken the similar path to you that want to change their life, but they don't want, there was a certain part of it that they loved, or there was an expression of self and an empowerment of self. How did they bring that into another arena? How did they
yeah,
take that somewhere else? And it's like, it's showing them that they are so much more and they can be so much more, but still bringing that same passion along with them. And very often people just don't know. I want a new direction, but I have no idea where to go. Right?
and I think we've all been there. I think we've all been
Yes.
there. And I wish I would have had somebody like me in my life when I was at that point. I think it would have been where I'm at right now would have been fast paced, it
Yes.
would have definitely been much quicker for that spiritual awakening. But I hope I can be there for somebody else. I hope I can help somebody
Well,
have that
you weren't
spiritual.
meant to have somebody there for you at that time because you are meant to be somebody
Yes, I
there,
go back to
right?
right,
And
exactly,
it's
very
like,
true. Yes.
the best teachers are those that have gone through it. All right,
But
because
there are some people though that hit rock bottom,
mhm,
like I have, and like you said, they can't bounce back. They don't know
yes,
how to.
yes,
And I feel like I'm very grateful that I went through everything I did and that I had that chance to bounce back and that I had that will and desire to. But there's some people that don't, and I really hope to help those people and be that stepping stone for them and be like, okay, look, you can do this or you can do that. And that's kind of why I wrote Stilettos, because I've been through so many ups and downs in my life. And I feel like I've been where a lot of people are today that feel like they can't climb out of that hole, and they can. They really, really can.
yeah,
Anybody can.
yeah, exactly. And you've chosen to honor your sensuality, and there are a lot of
Yeah.
people from that industry where the it it takes more of a seedy avenue because they think that's the only avenue to go on instead
Yes.
of no, you can still live in your beautiful sensuality, all right? Any form of sensual worker, but the most important thing is where's the empowerment of self.
Yes.
Have you stepped into the empowerment of self? Are you in control of your choices? Now, there's the divine choices. They'll choose for you. You think that, you've laid out a plan and it laughs, right? It will always redirect you to where
Right.
you need to go. But it's being in tune with yourself is that I can choose to say yes or no to something and stand tall in it, own it and not worry about anybody else's opinion.
Correct. Yes. Absolutely.
That's very, very empowering. A lot of people don't realize how empowering that is. There's so many people that I've known because I used to counsel too, through the years, and of course now with the podcasting, that they wanted to make these changes so long ago, but they were so fearful of people's opinions,
Of
or,
course.
or they didn't know how because nobody else was doing it, and then they become the how, um, and they let go of the other people's opinions. But it took them years to do so, right? And
Yes.
we like to
Yes.
speed up the process so you don't have
Yes.
to take years to go through that, right? It's like when you know that you want change, when you know this isn't enough, I know I need to go in another direction, then you need somebody, especially when they've come from a different world to what mainstream
Yes.
world has come from, then somebody like you who goes, I get it. I get it. I understand. You don't want to stay on this plateau. You want to go somewhere else. What are your skills? What's your ability? What's your passion? What's your why? What's your mission? And how do we
Yes.
take it somewhere else?
Yes. Yes. Yep.
An
That's exactly
exciting
where I'm
path
at
to be
right now.
on. Yeah,
Yes,
exciting
it is
path.
very, very exciting. I'm so grateful. I show gratitude every day. I am so grateful for everything that I've been through, where I'm at today. I feel like I'm living a dream,
Yes, yes.
living my
And
best life.
it's your dream. It's your choice. It's your
Mhm.
self-empowerment. You're standing tall in it. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. You know how you
Exactly.
feel. You know the impact you're having. You know why you're doing it. That
Exactly.
in itself is so illuminating
It's
because
empowering.
how many people are living a life and doing a job or going through life I don't feel in control. I don't feel it's my choice. I just I don't I feel trapped and I
Yes.
don't know how to get out. And it's like they're screaming inside,
Yep.
right? And they just don't know who to go to release
Yep.
themselves to find another path. But they've got to be willing to do the work, right? But
True.
it's having
Yes.
somebody there.
Yes.
So on any scale, whether somebody is looking for you for the elite escort or whether they're looking for the coaching, how do they find you and what are you offering?
Well, I have a fitness business now, doing life coaching, and yes, I'm an elite companion, and that's worldwide. But italiatornabene.com is how you can locate me. And then Brianna Diamond is my stage name. So that was the porn name and the stripper name and turned into the elite companion name. So now I've got both up there, but both of those are the names in the .com or Instagram.
Can you spell your name for people who are just listening, love?
Sure. It's Italia, T as in Tom, O, R, N as in Nancy, A, B as in boy, E, N as in Nancy, E. Italia Tornabene
.com.
dot
Great.
com. Yes.
And of course, um,
Brianna.
you're on Facebook, of course, you're on Instagram, and your books are on Amazon. Well, the Easy Investing is already on Amazon. The Suits to Silhouette is
Stilettos.
about to come out, right?
Yes. Yes.
Stilettos, sorry. Yes, I don't know why I want to go to silhouettes all the time. I'm stuck on that.
Suits to Stilettos comes out at the end of February, and it's just an autobiography. It's hopefully to empower other people, but it's not a biography. And then the Easy Investing book is my investment journey. And I'm still learning, but the little tiny investments that I've made have grown into thousands, and it's amazing. But yeah, all those you can find on my website as well.
Great.
Every single one.
And you're a true example of, the willingness to kind of take the dance in life and redirect and explore. I mean, one of the big problems with humanity is that people get so stuck in a groove, they forget to
Okay.
explore. And like
They
every
get
day you wake
comfortable.
up, be grateful. I woke up. What does the
Yeah.
day have for me? Right?
Yes.
I'm willing to
Yes.
go explore, even if it's a bad day. Okay, all right, that day wasn't so great. That's fine.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Tomorrow's going to be better because it's all about a gratitude attitude, isn't it?
Yes, yes. I always, before I go to bed at night, I text my son and I say, "How was your day today?" And I'll ask him to tell me one thing he learned for the day and tell me two things that went good for the day. Like even if he had a bad day, I want to know something good happened. So I've got that ingrained in his mind now. He's actually evolved. He's much more, he's as spiritual as I am, and he's 19 years old. He's gonna have a
Excellent.
great life path. But yeah,
Good,
try
because
to
they're the
kind of,
leaders of tomorrow.
oh
And the
yeah.
more and more
Okay.
of them that step in to this, when you look at all of the wars, all of the angst, all of the greed, all of the opulence, all of the power hungry, they're all insecure people who are lost, who are not
Very.
willing to take the journey. And when we
Yes.
and each and every one of us are willing to take that soul journey, ignite our soul, ignite our heart, ignite our spirit, step into our beautiful purpose, then we
Yes.
realize that we're not only a solution to our own life, we're actually a solution to each other and to the
Yes.
planet as a whole. So if we want to see peace in the world, we've got to find peace within us. If we want to find love, we've got to be the love and have love
Yes.
for ourselves. And if we want to make those choices that are positive in life, then we've got to feed the positivity. And that doesn't
Yes.
mean negativity doesn't happen. It just means you approach it in a totally different way, right?
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
what your feed is going to grow. So look at what you're planting, folks. If you keep getting weeds, maybe you
What you
need to
see is what
reseed.
you grow. Yes.
Yeah.
I love that.
And so many people keep planting seeds. So of course, the book can also be found at Suits to Silhouettes. I get it right finally.
Stilettos. Stilettos.
What is my problem with this word today? I don't know.
Maybe
Silhouettes.
because the way it's
I am
spelled.
completely having a brain fart moment, completely here. I know, but this is part of my dyslexia. Sometimes there's a word I can't get.
Oh, that's right. You have
Yeah,
dyslexia. Okay, so suits to stilettos is the name, the meaning behind the name of it is the government wearing suits
yeah,
to stilettos, the heels that I wore on stage,
yeah.
pole dancing. So
Right.
suits to stilettos.
Right, stilettos. You see, I can get it, but
You got
just
it. You got it. You
I
got it.
know, and I knew it all the time that I was putting your thing together, etc. I just don't know what it is, but that that's I think something else that's important for people to know is that it's okay to screw up, own
Oh
it,
yeah.
laugh
Oh
about
yeah.
it, and then move on. Don't get oh,
Absolutely. There's I'm not dyslexic, but there is words I literally cannot pronounce. I
Mm,
just can't say it. I mean, you can say it a million times and people will laugh at me. I'm like,
yeah.
it's not that hard. It's hard for me. I can't say
I
that
could go
word.
supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, but yeah, it's just I think there's a lovely word I was introduced to some time ago called flawsome, and
Floss.
flawsome, to be
Okay.
flawed and to be awesome about it, flawsome.
Okay.
And it's like kind of look at yourself as a bowl that's being cracked and shattered along the way, but put it back together with self-love And when you put all those cracks together back with self-love, you're a beautiful bowl that shows all the cracks, all that you've been through, but you've put everything back together with self-love. And now you are so strong and unbreakable.
Yes, I love
Ready to
that.
receive the nectar in life. And that's the thing, is like, be flawsome. Be
I love
flawsome.
it. Be flossom. That's the new word of the day.
And the cat came back.
Oh yeah.
Oh, beautiful. A Siamese?
No, she is a sphinx.
Oh, Sphinx, my goodness. He's a
Yeah,
biggie too.
she's a fatty.
Yes, we
She's a
have one
fatty.
here too. We have
I
one
live
here too.
vicariously through her.
Yes, that's my dog on the screen
I
behind
saw
me.
that.
Yes, and actually, that's somebody that Kathy Knopp, an artist, painted for me for doing
Oh,
a show
beautiful.
with her, and that little one saved my life. I got her to replace my husband, and she's the one that kind of brought me back to soul and heart. That little one up there. So she's forever with me, even though she's been gone 7 years. She's forever with me, right?
Aww,
So
that's a
they never
beautiful
leave us.
story. No.
Whoops. Oh, we lost her. Okay, she may come back in. Well, folks, it looks like her phone finally gave up on her, so not to worry, but please do go and look for her books. It is, let's see if I can get this right, Suits to Stilettos by Italia Tornabene. And also go to italiatorbene.com, and you can also go to Suits to Stilettos, suits2stilettos.com for her book. And her Easy Investment is also on Amazon. She's clearly had a very successful life of what she's been doing, loves doing it, and has actually owned everything that she's doing. So she's a great inspiration. So until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope that you enjoyed the show. There are so many more for you here on selfdiscoverywisdom.com. Just go to the podcast tab at the top there and you will see all the many genres and all 3,000 shows ready for your listening. We are here to serve you, to help you on your journey of life, and we know that through inspiration, it begets invitation. We are supported by you, the listeners, and those that we interview. Anything that you can spare us in donation would be greatly accepted, and we do hope that you enjoy the next show.